மாமா ஆக்சுவலா ராம் சேத்து அப்படிங்கிறது நான் என்னுடைய என்னோட இது வந்து சரஸ்வதி சிவிலைசேஷன், இன்ஃபேக்ட் இந்தியன் லெக்சிகான் எல்லாத்த பத்தியும் பேசணுங்கிறது தான் என்னுடைய இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன். பட் ஸ்டார்டிங் பாயிண்ட் ராம் சேத்துன்னு ஏன் நினைச்சோம் அப்படின்னா, இட்ஸ் நம்மளோட ஆடியன்ஸ் நிறைய பேர் தமிழ்நாடு ரீஜன்ல இருக்கிறதுனால ஒரு லோக்கலி ஃபெமிலியரான ஒரு விஷயத்த முதல்ல பேசி தொடங்கலாம்னு ஒண்ணு. ரெண்டாவது வந்து ராம் சேத்து மூமெண்ட்ல நீங்க ஈடுபட்டு இருந்த போதுதான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நான் உங்களை மீட் பண்ணேன். நம்ம 2 பேருக்கும் அப்ப வரைக்கும் ராம மாமானா தெரியும், கேட்டிருக்கேன், பெரியவாலாம் சொல்லி தெரியும். பட் முத நான் உங்களை மீட் பண்ணது முதல்ல நம்ம அந்த கான்வர்சேஷன் நம்ம 2 பேருக்குள்ள அந்த எண்ட்லெஸ் கான்வர்சேஷனுக்கோட தொடக்க புள்ளி வந்து இந்த ராம் சேத்து அப்படிங்கிற அந்த ஆஸ்பெக்ட் தான். அதனால இட் ஹாஸ் அ வெரி ஸ்பெஷல் கனெக்ஷன் இன் மை ஹார்ட் அஸ் வெல். ஸோ வித் தட் செட், இன்னைக்கு நான் கெட் டு அம்மா நீ ஏதாவது ஓப்பனிங் கொஸ்டின் கேட்கணும்னு ஆசைப்படுறியா?
அம்மா நித்யா
இல்ல ராமம்மா பேசுறதுல இருந்து நம்ம கேட்டுக்கலாம். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அதுல ஏதாவது டவுட் இருந்தா நம்ம கடைசியா கேட்கலாம்.
சரி மா, ஐ வில் லீவ் த ஃப்ளோர் டு யூ இப்போ. அண்ட் அது நீங்க சொல்ல வந்ததை உள்வாங்கிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் எனக்கு அதுல சில ஏதாவது நான் கேட்டு தெரிஞ்சுக்க வேண்டியது இருந்தா நான் அப்புறம் உங்களை கேட்கிறேன் மாமா.
நான் ஆரம்பிக்கட்டுமா?
எஸ் ப்ளீஸ் மாமா.
ஓகே
எஸ் ப்ளீஸ்.
சரி, அப்பதான் நீ இந்த சப்ஜெக்ட் சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணும்போது ஐ வாஸ் திங்கிங் எப்படி how I got involved in this. நான் ஏஷியன் டெவலப்மெண்ட் பேங்க்ல வந்து திரும்பி வந்தேன் டு ஒர்க் ஆன் சரஸ்வதி ரிவர், சரஸ்வதி சிவிலைசேஷன். அதை பண்ணிட்டு இருந்த போது ஐ வாஸ் கெட்டிங் இன்வால்வ் வித் தி நம்பர் ஆஃப் பீப்புள் ஹூ ஆர் இன்வால்வ் இன் தி சர்ச் ஃபார் ரிவர் சரஸ்வதி. அப்போ ஒன் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் டாபிக் கேம் அப் called the Setu Samudram project. So it was receiving a lot of attention. So a lot of support at that point in time. The BJP government also was involved. They had approved the project. George Fernandez was the defense minister. He also had approved the project. So that was the background. Then I was wondering, what is this Setu Samudram project? I did not go into the details of that. Then when it got attention in the media, I said, let me take a look at the problem. Then I was really taken aback. What's the Setu Samudram project? It was supposed to link up the eastern part of South India with the western part of South India. That is providing a link between the eastern coastline and the western coastline. It sounded reasonable. And it was supposed to go through very close to the Pamban channel, which is in between Sri Lanka and Bharath. And it is supposed to cut down a lot of extra navigation that was taking place going around Sri Lanka, because it's a very narrow channel in the Pamban Bridge. So it basically sounded reasonable as a project. But when I got into it, to study how the background of the project and the previous studies that have been done on this subject, I was taken aback. I got to know about Ramaswamy Mudaliyar report on this RAMASEThu, this Setu Samudram project. They had very categorically stated that don't take up this project. It's not feasible, it's not worth it. Because even after you cut through the Setu, you are going to be creating a very small channel. Only very small ships can pass through. Say if we're taking about 30 tons or 40 tons. What's the big point? You can't have huge oil tankers passing through that channel. It It is only meant for small vessels. So what is the economics of it? So are we trying to save something and destroying some kind of a feature that existed? Then I went into the details of this feature. I was taken aback that the very first literary work in Prakritam was titled Setu Bandha. It's a very emotionally packed presentation in Prakritam, which said that is the very core of the entire Ramayana episode. Why is Setu so important? It signified a determination of this Sri Rama to bring back Sita and restore Dharma. Because some Dharma has been committed by the Ravana who abducted her and took her to maybe Sri Lanka. That was the place that was recognized as the place where Ravana was ruling. This Setu Bandha documents the core of the entire Ramayana episode. See, in the Ramayana, Vishwamitra goes to Dasaratha and asks for Rama and Lakshmana to be spared for his work, because there was a lot of activity going on in the Yagnas performance, and there was a lot of obstruction that was being created by some people, so-called Asuras. When Dasaratha said, these are very young people, where do you want them? How can it bear the loss of these young people? Hardly 10 or 12 years old. Then Vishwamitra makes a very thundering statement. You don't know, Dasaratha. Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha. He is the very embodiment, very personification of Dharma. Very profound statement made in the Ramayana. What is this person so important in our lives? After all, there was a lot of movement that was going on in Ayodhya and all that about Rama. So Rama is the very essence of our life. People who listen to the Ramakathas get enthralled by that beautiful imagery of young Rama and Lakshmana and Sita going on the Vanavasa to obey their father's commitment made to his wife, who wanted Bharata to become the king and not Rama. So this is a very beautiful story, beautiful narration, which has been the hallmark of our civilization. The Ramakatha is not a katha. It is very embodiment of our lives. See, Rama, just as Vishwamitra said, Vigrahavan Dharmaha, Rama becomes a Vigraha for every person in our country, similarly Sita, as signifiers of how role models to be followed. What an incredible devotion was expressed by people all over the country. And the beauty of this Ramakatha is the unification of our country from the north to south. Rama travels from Ayodhya down through Dandakaranya, through South India, through Lepakshi and all that, and then comes to the south, Rameswaram, and then moves. And the story goes on. The beautiful narration of the story in very simple, very profound manner by Valmiki, and a number of versions of Ramayana exist in number of languages. So the Ramayana became a very living example. It's not merely a story, not mythology. It becomes a living example of as though he is alive even today, doing something that is very important in very ordinary lives. Very simple people moving around, interacting with people on their journey in Varanavasam, and also in the act of Rama. There are also some very difficult moments in the Ramayana, critical moments when decision making becomes very difficult. Rama sides with Sugriva against Vali. Vali was a remarkable hero. But then he said, I have taken a stand. I have given a promise to Sugriva, I will protect you. And that Sugriva and his Vanara Sena helped Rama in building this RAMASEThu. What a beautiful narration. This narration is not restricted only to Valmiki Ramayana. It appears in Sangam literature, where the Sangam literature refers to the Vanaras picking up the jewelry that Sita drops as she was being taken on the Vimana by the person who snatched her after fighting with, after creating a false imagery about himself as a great sadhu. So she crossed the Lakshmana Rekha, a blunder that Sita committed. But then Lakshmana never mentions about that. He never faults her for that. She did it. It happened. So when she crossed the Lakshmana Rekha and Ravana captured her, and that fight takes place between Jatayu and this Vimana. And in the beauty of the journey of Rama and Sita and Lakshmana, they perform sadhana for this Jatayu. It's an incredibly emotional moment. So it's a very narration of a life of a group of people coming from North India down to the south and carrying out their responsibilities, performance of the dharma. So Ramo Vigrahan Dharma. He performs the dharma, performing a sadham or the Jatayu. And then with Sugriva, he says, I have got a problem now. I know Sita is in Lanka, Ashokavana. And that gets established by the great Hanuman. Hanuman visits Sri Lanka and then makes a magnificent fight against Ravana. And then goes to talk to Sita Devi in the Ashokavana. And this is how Sundarakanda begins. The Sundarakanda, because it's so ecstatic. First, Hanuman gets worried whether he should be talking in Sanskritam or native language. Because if he talks in Sanskritam, Sita may mistake him to be a spy sent by Ravana, so she may not reveal herself. So he talks to Manusha Bhasha. He talks in the people's language. He expresses himself and then explains the story of Dasaratha. And then says, Rama has given this ring to you. This is in memory. So this is my evidence that I am a Duta of Sri Rama. Sri Rama is waiting to take you back in his life. And he makes that statement. And Sita is in tears. And the Asuras who are surrounding her are also enthralled by this Sundarakanda. So the imagery that Valmiki creates in this simple narration of a very simple story of a young bridegroom and a young bride who have not lived their full life and they're into this traveling through the Dandakaranya and getting into these difficult moments in their lives of somebody trying to look at the beauty of Ravana. He's a great scholar. He's also a Dharmatma. He committed a mistake. He never touched Sita. Apart from the elopement of picking her up, he never tried to force her into becoming a subject to his obedience. He never did that. He was only trying to persuade her to desert Rama and join him. Of course, she refused. His Ravana's sister also tells him, please don't do this mistake. You have committed a mistake. You don't do this. Return Sita to Rama. He says no. So that some false egoism is the adharma that he committed. That had to be rectified. So Setu Bandha, the building of a bridge across the straits between Rameswaram and Talaimannar in Sri Lanka, is the story of Setu Bandha, which is described in the Prakritam literary classic. The building of the bridge gets depicted in beautiful sculptural images, even in Angkor Wat, where they want to say, take their boulders and all that, try to build the bridge. So there is rebuilding the bridge. See, due to a lot of tectonic events that are taking place as the Indian plate is moving northwards in plate tectonics, Sri Lanka also is moving together with Bharat. So there is a lot of activity that goes on. And there are a lot of tsunamis also have occurred. Tsunamis means a very upsurge of the ocean and cutting into different places. Particularly the direction is towards the RAMASEThu region. Why we call it RAMASEThu? Because Rama built it. So the evidence of it is very categorical in the great epic Ramayana. Is there something else? So that's how I started. And when Ashok Shingalji, who is the president of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, came to Chennai, he came to say that we have to protect RAMASEThu. I didn't realize the importance he was committing. So I made a presentation to him in a conference, in a meeting that was taking place in the Jaina Hall in Chennai. He was impressed by what details I presented about the importance of preserving this great monument, the edifice of Dharma. This is monument of Dharma. The Setu Bandha, the bridge that Rama built between Rameswaram and Talaimannar, is a monument of Dharma, because Sri Rama was restoring Dharma by changing the character of Ravana, who committed this blunder, and bringing back Sita. So the Setu Bandha became a very important, monumental event in the entire Ramayana. Just as there was a beautiful episode about the Bharata meeting him on the Sarayu river. That's another story. So there are a lot of episodes. This episode becomes so important because it is the very core of representing the restoration of Dharma in the country. That Ravana had to be taught a lesson. He got defeated in the fight, but the bridge was built. So when this became litigation, it came to the Madras High Court. The Vishwa Hindu Parishad submitted a memorandum against this Setu project. Then as I went into the details of the Setu project and found a lot of defects in the formulation, I also became a co-petitioner in Madras High Court. The very first question that Justice Shah asked in the Madras High Court is, what is the meaning of Setu? Setu means a bridge. A Setu is a bund that links up a body of water. So a Setu was a bridge. So this RAMASEThu is a Setu built by Rama. So this has been the tradition. This has been our life. Ever since we were born, our mothers and grandmothers will relate this story. Or in Harikathas, we listen to this story. So it becomes a very important landmark of life activity, life aim, life mission, and the course of life that must be led by us. Looking upon this, Rama, Maryada Purushottama, you said, and Sita as the ideals, the ideal persons who must be emulated in our lives. See, they were ordinary people, we are also ordinary people. So the beauty of the Ramakatha is that it touches the core of our emotions. It touches our hearts. We can't forget it. In fact, in Harikatha Kalakshepam, the audience will be left crying with tears. Tears of joy and tears of sorrow listening to the story. So that is, the whole thing becomes so impacting. It becomes the entire core of your Atman is set up into a journey with the Paramatman, to link with the Paramatman. So that journey is the Ramakatha. So the beauty of the Rama Avatara is this restoration of Dharma, Vigrahavan Dharma. So this is the submission that we made in the Madras High Court. And the Chief Justice who was leading the court case seemed to be convinced. And then, because they were going to lose in the Madras High Court, the case was transferred to the Supreme Court. Then I became a co-petitioner in Supreme Court. And a number of people arguing, including Subramanian Swamy, the one BJP leader. So in the course of the litigation that was taking place, we also organized, thanks to the presence of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad and other Hindu organizations, a meeting in Rohini Park in New Delhi. You know how many people attended? 15 lakhs from all over the country. It was an astonishing moment. In fact, the people who were organizing the meet had to stop the people from going there because they were all being fed by the Delhi citizens with chapati and curry and all that, taking care of these lakhs of people coming into and it could not be held in the boat club, which is a normal place for public meetings. So it had to locate a much larger place near Rohini Park. A old forest was cleared and 2 huge platforms are set up for all the signs to be present there to make a declaration that RAMASEThu requires protection. So that was the public movement that was taking place. And this is the litigation that went into Supreme Court. In the course of the litigation, some extraordinary event took place, Rasika. I got a message from the National Institute of Ocean Technology. Some number of scientists are there who are also very, very enthusiastic scientists, but also done work on the RAMASEThu and the Gulf of Combat and all that. They are oceanographers. They gave a piece of information to me that to make our litigation meaningless, infructuous, attempt was being made to destroy the RAMASEThu by blasting it off. This is the message. So inquiry preparation was being made to blast it off. This information I got. This is the only piece of information, only hearsay. Then I told it to Mr. Subramanian Swamy, who was the principal lawyer arguing in the Supreme Court. He got so agitated, he directly went into the registrar's office and then said, we want this case to be heard. We have an affidavit to submit. Our case will become infructuous if the destruction takes place on the RAMASEThu. We want it to be heard immediately. Then the registrar said, no, sir, I can't list your case. I have instructions from the Chief Justice, who is no longer here. He has gone to Africa for some seminar. I can't list it. Then what Subramanian Swamy did was, accompanied by a number of lawyers, he straight away went into the office of the acting Chief Justice, Justice Agarwal. I told him that this is what has happened. We went to the registrar. He said he is refusing to receive our affidavit, which is very important because it's going to make our case infructuous. So we want to submit the affidavit, just to be heard. Then the acting Chief Justice Agarwal called the registrar. Why are you not accepting this affidavit? He told him, I got instruction from the Chief Justice. Then Agarwal, who had earlier been superseded by the present Chief Justice, at that time Chief Justice, said, oh, I have instructions from Chief Justice not to list any case, without his approval. Then this acting Chief Justice got very angry. He said, do you mean to say that the entire justice system will collapse because the Chief Justice has gone on tour? I want this affidavit to be listed today. It was stunning. It was listed in the afternoon, 2 o'clock. This was the number 2 case to be taken up. The first case was of Krishnamani, another advocate. He said, sir, an important issue has come up on RAMASEThu, so I am withdrawing my case. You can hear this, give precedence to Subramanian Swamy's affidavit. Only one piece of paper with one paragraph, saying that we have heard from very reliable sources, including the Indian Navy, that action was being taken to destroy the Setu by dynamiting it, and our case will become infructuous if this is allowed to happen. Then
and I'm sorry to disturb you. Sorry to bother your flow. Your video is projecting as half.
Okay.
Now it's fine.
Okay.
When you bend, it is only half. Now it's full.
Okay, I'll be here.
Sorry.
Now,
Thank you.
no. So then the Judge Agarwal asked the Attorney General, who was present at that time, do you have anything to say about this affidavit? He said, no, sir, I have nothing to say because I have no instructions. You can take up the case on merits. Then the affidavit was presented. The affidavit just stated that we have heard from reliable sources that our case will become infructuous if the instruction takes place very soon. We want it to be stopped. Then the judge gave a thundering order. Stop any activity on RAMASEThu immediately. It was a remarkable moment in the Indian judicial system where a developmental project involving crores of rupees, hundreds of crores, was stopped based on one small affidavit. What had happened? How come this happened at a time when the Chief Justice was away and the acting Chief Justice takes the important decision? Who was protecting? Who was behind all this? Was there a Hanuman protecting us? How did these events happen? Some inexplicable things are happening that we got protection from the court of that stay order still stands even today.
I was thinking the same, Mama. It is Hanuman, yes.
Of course it is. See,
Yes.
the Setu Raja of Ramnad has been given the responsibility of protecting Setu. That is his job. So under the Constitution of India, the government of India and the Tamil Nadu government are responsible for continuing that Raja's activity, Raja's responsibility. Their job is to protect Setu. Why should the Setu be protected? Now, I'll come to the reasons why Setu must be protected. After meeting Ashok Singalji and making a small presentation, he said, no, this is not enough. We have to get a lot of scientific evidence for this. So I constituted immediately, rapidly, within about 15 days notice, an international conference was held in Chennai, organized by me. We included a great person called Tad Murthy, who was a tsunami expert. He also came. So, no, he said, if the Setu is touched in any manner, next tsunami will destroy the ports of South India, including Tuticorin. The results will be devastating because it comes through the channel, and the channel, if the channel is created, passes through that, and the entire South India port will be cut off. And what will be the impact of this? The thorium deposits along the coastline close to RAMASEThu, Tuticorin, Kollam, and Kerala, they'll all be finished. India is the world's largest resource of thorium. There is a Kamini reactor acting in Kalpakkam, which uses a thorium blanket over uranium, and it creates plutonium. So it's a self-sustaining reactor. You keep on creating plutonium, which can be used for another reactor, so on. So we have the top-notch expertise in thorium. So thorium is a nuclear resource. We have proved it in a working model of the Kamini reactor. This had to be pursued. So the devastation will be economic, and it will destroy the total resource of our country, thorium resources of our country, and make them meaningless. If this kind of activity takes place, destroying the RAMASEThu. And then we had to establish the scientific evidence for the RAMASEThu. There we got incredible assistance from the National Institute of Ocean Technology experts who did drilling in that area and found that at the bottom of this old Setu, the bund that linked the Kalyanaraman and Rameswaram, some shells, the aquatic shells, that those are marine, like the Shanku that is available. The largest Shanku production place in the country is the RAMASEThu area, apart from Gulf of Kambat, the Tarbela Shanku, which is used for making bangles, which is used for marriages in West Bengal and Orissa and all that. So the life activity of the people who are the divers is based on these shells. And those shells can occur only if there is a strong stone background. So there is a stones that have been built up as a man-made activity of building the Setu. So the continuous activity of rebuilding the Setu has taken place. And there are also evidences we got from the village revenue records that people had lived there. So it's a monument where people had lived, created a living area, and there are people living on the benefits, the aquatic resources of the Setu. producing Shankar and all that, which is it's a 10 crore per annum is the life activity of these people. Poor villagers, poor divers who will be picking up this muttu, these pearls and also the Shankar. So this life activity cannot be destroyed. So this life activity of these people was protected. Then the RAMASEThu, which has been built on using stones and woodwork, has to be protected. And there's evidence of people having crossed by walk. In fact, we walked along from Dhanushkodi to Talaimanar up to some point. And only at some point in time is about chest deep of water. It's a very shallow water. So in these shallow waters, you can't build huge breakthrough channels for passing very large vessels to pass through. So it will be very small little vessels. So it will be economically inactive. So the only driving force for this was to save the distance traveled by circumnavigating through Sri Lanka, avoiding Colombo port, to reach goods from the west to the east. And definitely the oil tankers cannot pass through this. So we'll continue to pass through Colombo and other ports of Sri Lanka. So we made a submission to the government of India that this is not an economically feasible proposition. It's not scientifically valid, and has been conclusively established in previous studies by Ramaswamy Mudaliar committee report that this Setu project is ineffective. In fact, what you can do is, there is a Pamban channel that is available. Pamban bridge exists, which is a lifting bridge, where you can small vessels can pass through. Continue to use that. You can make, if necessary, you make improvements on the Pamban channel. That will be an adequate alternative to the Setu Grand project. But there are also other factors involved in this. Dredging companies from Belgium. So the Belgium also gives a great award to the leader of the Congress party at that time, Sonia Gandhi, Medal of Leopold. How is Belgium interested? Because the dredging companies from Belgium were interested in getting their contracts. The dredging became a very important mechanism for continuing this activity of destroying the RAMASEThu. We said this is not allowed. This is not necessary. So let us take a fresh look at the Setu project. Then George Fernandez said, my God, I did not know about all these aspects. We have to rethink about the Setu project. So the Setu project is in the cold storage, not taken off. We have now made the request to the Supreme Court to declare this as a national monument. Then there was a big dispute about national monument. They said Majuli Island is a World Heritage Site. Majuli Island is the largest river island in Brahmaputra, largest island of its kind in the whole world. That has been declared as a World Heritage. Then why can't you declare this? Oh, it has got to be man-made. Why? We have proven that it is man-made. No, that's not enough. Only a man-made structure can be declared as a national monument. What type of argument is this? Brahma Sarovar in Kurukshetra is declared as a national monument by a Punjab High Court judgment. They said Brahma Sarovar is a national monument. So, based on those examples and the court cases, we submitted to the Supreme Court that please declare RAMASEThu as a national monument so that no further mischievous interventions will take place to destroy this great monument of Dharma. See, from our point of view, it was not only scientific, it was incredibly emotional of the living memories and memories of our past that's been communicated to us from generation to generation, saying that this monument is a monument for Dharma. We want it to be protected. Because you call it national monument, you call it what you want. Or if you're lost, then we'll provide for it, modify them. But declare it. And that request still continues to be heard, pending case in the Supreme Court, of which I am a petitioner. It's still there. We'll come back to it in some point in time. Somewhere, I think we'll get the order passed in our favor of declaring it as a national monument. For some reason, there's a dragging place. So there is, for technical bureaucratic reasons, but there's a dragging take place. But we have got to figure out how to overcome this problem. So this is the situation. Now ask me the questions.
On that note, Mama, I was thinking about a few things. You did mention about human settlements at the RAMASEThu and man-made interventions. And I was get Tamil and English together, because this has a very this has an anecdote as well. Because Raman
you
Tata, my
continue in
mother's
English.
father.
Rasika, you continue in
Okay.
English because Mama had taken
So,
over
in English.
English. Let's continue
Yeah.
in English.
Okay. Raman Tata, my mother's father, had once related to me that his father, who was a postmaster in his career, post office postmaster, was in the early 50s once posted in Dhanushkodi.
Wow.
And well, he had only one postman come assistant. So small village hamlet post office. This one postmaster and one assistant who also doubled in as a postman. So he used to say that the Kolu Tata, Venkatraman Tata, used to have lunch every day at the Ramnad Raja Setupati Raja's Chatram in Dhanushkodi, where he used to provide for the yatris every single day in the afternoon after the Uchikal Abhishekam, because there are 3 Shivalingas there, not just one Ramanatha Swami. The Raja used to conduct Abhishekam for all the 3 Shivalingas and then do the Annadana. And Tata used to eat there at the Raja's Annadana every day because there was no other place to eat. And the rest of the other places were fishing hamlets, not very conducive places for him to eat. So that way, early 50s, till the early 50s, there were human settlements there. There was trashimans, there was movements and other things. Can we say, is it reasonable for us to kind of come to a proposition that the 1964 Rameshwaram cyclone caused a bit of an upheaval, and which is the reason why we don't find as many human settlements or as much interaction there in that region? Mama, is that a reasonable assumption?
Vidya?
I believe the cyclone in Dhanushkodi hit completely, and after that government declared, if I'm not wrong, I feel government declared that it is not a suitable place for livelihood. That is why Dhanushkodi is not a livelihood place. In fact, when I went to Rameshwaram few years before, naval officers accompanied me to see Dhanushkodi. We have been there. So they mentioned that there are some houses now recently made which has no electricity. So I asked why these houses do not have electricity even today. That was 2016, if I'm not wrong. Even in 2016. So they said, ma'am, this is not the place allowed to be living. They all have houses, government given houses in Rameshwaram, but they are stubborn living in Dhanushkodi. Dhanushkodi is geologically also advised a place as a livelihood place. That's categorized like that. This is what I heard from them. So probably that could be the reason, is what I guess. Mama, I have a doubt.
But Nitya, we were able to locate village revenue records shown as villages on the RAMASEThu. Between Dhanushkodi and Kalyanaraman, there were village settlements which are recorded in village revenue records.
Oh.
So there was a living monument, the national monument. People are living on that area. So village settlements cannot exist without people being there.
Correct.
Village is recognized. Whether they have electricity or not doesn't matter. They are living there. So that is very.
That is the reason I came up.
Yes.
That is the reason I had this question, because I remember Raman Tata narrating this tale of Venkatraman Tata, early 50s. He used to have lunch every day at the Raja of Ramnad, Raja Setupati's Annadanam. And 64, the cyclone happens. Then your hamlets, fishing towers, everything disappears, because he has this. Raman Tata's father used to keep a diary, and he apparently has all of this written in his diary. In his diary, handwritten diary records. So there has been ample, personal, family verified, anecdotal evidence that there have been livelihoods and villages and settlements of people in that region. Which is why I am kind of devastated that the region is now deserted for various reasons in the larger scheme of things.
So certainly, from Dhanushkodi, the postmaster would have sent the postman for handing over postcards or others that are meant to the villagers in Dhanushkodi, RAMASEThu settlements. Definitely, what people would have received the communications and all that. So it was a living monument, worked on by people. So if it is a living settlement, that is enough proof that under the ASI Act, Monuments Act, it must be declared as a national monument. There is no doubt about that. So this is very categorical evidence to prove to the court, to the satisfaction of the court, that this must be declared as a national monument.
Mama, I remember reading your book Ramasethu. Will that be possible that in Tamil and English, if you have a PDF, can we put it down to this video so the viewers can read it through also?
Yeah, in fact, we prepared a small little booklet. Mu Karunanidhi prepared a book called Setu. As a rejoinder to that, we prepared a book called RAMASETHU.
That's lovely.
At the time when the movement was gathering momentum, so
Yes.
we prepared a very beautiful document in Tamil, giving all the literary evidences and the technical details about how the RAMASETHU is a living monument and must be protected. So I will try to get hold of the copy of that. I requested Kupuramu, who is an advocate in Ramanathapuram, who was the National Secretary of the National Monument for RAMASETHU Protection Movement, of which I was the president. I requested him for a copy. As soon as I get it, I will pass it on to you. We can put it as a podcast. We'll do that. And what I have details in English, that is the seminar proceedings. But I think it will also be good to have it translated into different languages. That will be helpful.
Sure.
Sure, Mama. And on that note, I also had this, as we have now mentioned about Tamil and, Tamil Nadu, the region and nativity. I'm also reminded of reading in your book that there are mentions of Ramasethu. I mean, there is Sangam literary text called Setu Puranam. Or Setu Mahatmyam. It's referred either ways, but I think it is Setu Puranam. And I remember the name of the poet who, it's a very peculiar name, so I just remember his name, Niramba Alahiya Singer.
Wow.
I've never heard of anybody have that kind of a name. Very peculiar, very nice name. But yeah, so Niramba Alahiya Singer, I think 16th century, Mama, if I'm right, if I'm rightly remembering from what you mentioned, he wrote the Setu Saritram and I think 45 sarkams. Mama, would you like to expand a bit about that? Because I also remember you educating me that there were mentions of Ramasethu in the Tevaram as well. So a little bit about that would be very educative to our audience as well.
Vidya?
I'm sorry, your voice was not clear.
Yeah, she wanted you to give details about the Tamil.
No, Mama. Mama, sorry, Mama. I had that request for you. Because it is this information that I've gathered is from your book on Ramasethu. So
Ramasethu book itself, we have given a number of references from the Sangam literature, referring to the Ramasethu as a very important place of pilgrimage. And in fact, the Kshetratanam is not complete unless you bring the Ganga waters into Rameswaram and take back Rameswaram waters to Ganga. So that two-way traffic must take place for a Tirtha to be completed. So they are all very well recorded in number of Puranas. But particularly Skanda Puranam details very detailed importance of the Ramasethu Kshetram. The Tirtha Sthanas that are created in this are so important in our lives. The traditions of the people who perform these parikramas, the circular pilgrimages around the country, right from Badrinath down to south, look upon Ramasethu is a very important transit point for the pilgrimage to be complete in the Kshetratanam of Bharatam. Ramasethu is a very important component of that Tirthasthana. No, our elders and Pitrus have created this beautiful institution of Tirthayatras, traveling along, visiting, reviving the memories of our past, of what the people have done, whether it's Lepakshi, or is the Sarayu River, or the Bharat, or the great boatman arguing with Bharatha. So these events are so important in our lives. They have got to be recounted, and people do look forward to these opportunities to visit. And so Singalji, when he came, he was so thrilled. Just as the Ayodhya movement was catching momentum, this RAMASEThu movement also was catching momentum. So this RAMASEThu of South India links up with the North. So it unifies the country. Such a beautiful political implication, of cultural implication of this RAMASEThu. It unifies our country, unifies the Tirthasthanas of the country. So the references are there. They can all be picked up and then quoted in the podcast references.
Sure, Mama.
Coming to you.
Yeah, and one other thing I was fascinated about was two of the numismatic coin evidences. Basically, one I remember was a 13th century coin from Jaffna, depicting Setu Bandhanam, and the second one, which I was more fascinated about because I was surprised how it got there in the first place, that 10th century copper plates from the period of Parantaka Chola, found in Tiruttani and Velanjeri, which was I if I'm not wrong, Tiruttani is Tondai Mandalam, which I do not think was part of the Chola Empire, but it ended up, traveling there. The evidence of Setu Bandhana that was more like a separate copper plate, ended up being found in Tiruttani and Velanjeri, which again establishes that there was movement of people, and across different periods of time, there has been evidence of RAMASEThu being an incredible part of the ancient Indian culture, and more importantly, the Tamil culture across the Perum Kulangal.
Fantastic. In fact, I did not know about this numismatic evidence. I think it will be very important to mention that, but particularly in the context of the court cases, there will be very important documents which will prove that it's necessary to declare it as a national monument, recognized in the numismatic evidences.
That was actually from I was going through my notes of your seminar, Mama. I got this from your seminar records only. So we might have to revisit and recompile things, but definitely there is a lot of evidence there. And one other thing I was quite fascinated about was the number of archaeological evidences. I mean, cartography is study of maps. So across the number of maps, the number of coins, the number of other we talked about the Shanka, the count, and then these kind of things. I was wondering if they've ever been carbon dated in the context of RAMASEThu.
No, they have not been. In fact, when you refer to the map, we got a very interesting map from Tanjore, Rafoji Mahal Library, showing an Australian botanist recording it as RAMASEThu in the map. When somebody tried to steal it away from Tanjore, we got hold of it, put a copy, and gave it to the Supreme Court. So the map was a very conclusive evidence of the existence of RAMASEThu centuries ago, recorded by an Australian botanist who visited the place. So we got a number of evidences which can all be gathered together and presented as a scientific evidence of the life activities that is going on the RAMASEThu. Okay?
Yes, Mama. And just turning towards a little bit of the geological evidence as well, because we've established we've touched upon various things, but I would like to really delve upon the geological evidence as well, because that is probably the thing that is going to make our strongest case. And we did you did briefly speak about Professor Tadmurthy's observations about tsunami and you know. Actually, am I right in thinking that a part of the RAMASEThu that was submerged in the 1964 Rameshwaram cyclone sort of resurfaced after the 2004 tsunami?
Yes, in fact, there is very beautiful work done by geologist, Director of Geological Survey of India, Dr. G. What's his name? I think Kuppuswamy. I have given in 2 volumes. He has documented the geological evidence of RAMASEThu. Even though no marine archaeological work has been done, he was able to document it from a geological point of view, the importance of RAMASEThu. That will be enormous evidence in the 2 volumes. I have sent links to you.
Mama, sure, Mama. And about the links of the Pamban Bridge and the RAMASEThu itself. Now, we know as per the Ramayana, it is the bow, Dhanushkoti is the tipping end. And if we were to link up the Pamban Bridge, which the governments of the day and today claim to be a technological marvel, which which then you yourself and other esteemed scholars have identified gaps in, and it's still dragging in the court, as we know. But then, are there actually essential links between the original Pamban Bridge and the RAMASEThu itself, Mama?
No, original Pamban Bridge was through a different channel. It's a very narrow channel. The ships pass through even today. Small little ships. They will be adequate. They will be more than adequate for carrying all the traffic that is taking place between the Madras and Tuticorin or Kerala, Trivandrum. So that Pamban Bridge can be, the Pamban channel is an adequate navigable route that's available today. That can be improved upon, no problem, without touching the RAMASEThu.
That is where the clutch lies, if I am right, Mama.
Absolutely.
So they are wanting to desecrate.
Pamban channel can be a good alternative to the State Southern project. In fact, that's what Sri Lankan government also said. Don't touch our RAMASEThu. They were so keen. They said they must be consulted because they are also they have a stake in this area. So no decision can be taken.
Yes, Mama. Definitely. And also in that spirit, a little bit about the Gulf and the biosphere reserve around the area of RAMASEThu, because I think with all of this, with all the proposed desecration, I think the biosphere reserve and the Gulf itself is getting damaged, which is where the environment scientists are coming in to champion the cause. Am I right in thinking that this is going to be a flora and fauna disaster as well for the larger Bay of Bengal?
It will also take away the entire monazite resources containing thorium. The entire sea coastline will wash away. It will be very difficult to restore the monazite reserves, the largest thorium reserves of the world. So it will be a disaster, devastator of an unbelievable magnitude to the biosphere. And it will be economic disaster.
Yes, Mama. And then that is going to have a corresponding impact on the coral reef as well.
Absolutely. The existence of RAMASEThu will act as a stoppage point for any tsunami to enter this area. Because tsunamis will recur again and again. This acts as a protective device. That's what Tadmurthy said. So please keep the RAMASEThu only for protecting against future tsunamis. Just leave it alone. Don't touch it.
Yes, Mama. More than cultural and mere religious significance, as some people like to brush it off as, we've got geological, historical, and cultural reasons for which RAMASEThu must and will exist.
Yes.
But on that note, Amma, do you have any questions or observations to make?
Meenakshi, anything? Any comments?
It is goose bumping story altogether. So I am still sinking into this. So not much.
Yes, so this was a bit of an introductory episode. We will go into further details and further information across the board, as I said, about RAMASEThu itself and its links to Saraswati civilization, and then how the things like next few episodes I'd also like to talk about Rashtram. Rashtram is the Indian Ocean consortium itself. So Mama has got a monumental piece of research on how RAMASEThu is also the symbolism of not just the dharma, not just the history, and not just the geology of it, but it is also the essential symbolism of the spirit of the whole Indian Ocean community. Now we talk about European Union and all of that today. It is very pertinent, but long before UN and European Union existed, there existed a Indian Ocean community, and that is what people like Shashi Tharoor popularized as cultural diplomacy. But then the thing is, this RAMASEThu is a monumental representation. It's a symbolism, very strong symbolism of the Indian Ocean community, and that is what Mama talks about in his book Rashtram. And that is one thing that is also one of the things I'd like to cover in one of the episodes, how the larger Indian Ocean community is benefited through the RAMASEThu, and how RAMASEThu can be a geopolitical advantage to the countries in the Indian Ocean community, particularly starting from India, but all the countries in the Indian Ocean community. We can come together as at par with UN as a body, as an Indian Ocean community, and we can aim to achieve the one common era goal of producing 40% of the world's GDP wealth. Again, if we can consolidate and come together as the Indian Ocean community. Mama, would you like to please say a word about that and about the Rashtram?
One suggestion, Rasika. In subsequent episodes, it will also be important to present some maps and images so that people will get a clear understanding of what we are talking about. See, we are now talking only in words. It would be good to present some pictures of the images from Angkor Wat, images of the RAMASEThu, the NASA images, and so on, and maps got by the Australian biographer of this Tanjore library. All those can be presented as part of the podcast.
We will do that as part of the subsequent episodes. And as I said, I am so excited to be doing this, and thank you for taking time and joining us, Mama. And it has been my absolute pleasure. I hope I've been I've been controlling my over enthusiasm all this while, but it's been as enriching as ever, Mama. And it's been so Amma said it was goosebumps, but for me it's been so emotional to revisit your entire journey, because we have spoken about it at length for several hours, several days and several hours, but every time I listen to you, every time I discuss this with you, it is like, for me, it is like listening to the national anthem, listening to, people might find this an exaggerated explanation, but for me it gives that level of, it evokes the same level of patriotism when I listen to your journey, and particularly things that have happened in course of accomplishment of all of these things. So we will unpack all of these things in detail, Mama, and as you have suggested, we will have maps and photographs and presentations going forward as well, and hopefully the younger people in our family and more widely people across the board will be benefited and And we will also be very happy to take any questions. If people have questions and people want to leave any questions for us, I'm very happy to post it to Mama on their behalf. So for me, it is like more than doing the interview or more than doing the podcast, being in Mama's Sammukam itself is a privilege. Thank you for giving me another hour of that privilege, Mama. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next episode very, very soon. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you, Mama.
Namaskaram.
Namaskara.
Namaskaram.
We'll sign off.
Rasika, are you there?